In the heart of the Middle East, the Israel-Palestine conflict has been a source of global tension for over a century. It's a tangle of historical events, politics, and human struggles that has its roots far back in the 19th and 20th centuries. But to truly understand it, we need to delve into the origins and motivations that ignited this enduring conflict. Our story begins with the Zionist movement, a political ideology founded by Theodor Herzl in the late 19th century. It wasn't a religious endeavor, but rather a nationalist and colonial aspiration. Herzl and his followers dreamt of a Jewish state, a homeland where Jews could live free from persecution. They cast their eyes over several potential locations, from the vast plains of Argentina to the lush landscapes of Uganda. Ultimately, however, they settled on Palestine, a decision influenced not by religion, but by a belief in a historical connection. As World War I raged, the colonial powers of Great Britain and France needed Arab support to defeat the Ottoman Empire. They exploited the Arab desire for independence, making promises they never intended to keep. Behind closed doors, they carved up the region through secret agreements, like the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. When the dust of war settled, Palestine fell under British mandate. In this New World Order, Great Britain made a commitment to establish a Jewish national home in Palestine through the Balfour Declaration of 1917. This encouraged Zionist colonization, which followed a white settler colonial model. The indigenous population was to be replaced with Jewish settlers, a concept referred to as population transfer. This controversial plan, presented to international bodies and executed by military forces, laid the groundwork for the deep-seated conflict we see today. A conflict that began in the 19th century, driven by colonization and nationalism, continues to shape the geopolitics of the modern world. We've only just scratched the surface of this complex issue. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the British Mandate, the Balfour Declaration, and the rising tensions that led to the Arab Revolt in our next segment. World War I set the stage for a new colonial player in Palestine, Great Britain. As the war raged on, Britain and France sought to gain an upper hand against the Ottomans. They found an ally in the Arab nations who were keen to shake off the Ottoman yoke. The British and French, however, had their own agenda, which came to light in the secret Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. This pact effectively carved up the Middle East into zones of colonial influence, with Palestine falling under British control. This new British mandate over Palestine would have far-reaching implications. In the midst of the war, Britain made a promise that would change the face of Palestine forever. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 committed Britain to the creation of a Jewish national home in Palestine. This was a clear nod to the Zionist movement, which sought to establish a Jewish state. The Balfour Declaration did more than just endorse the Zionist dream. It provided the movement with a blueprint for its colonization efforts. Zionist colonization was not a benign process. It followed a white settler colonial model, which involved displacing the indigenous Arab population and replacing them with Jewish settlers. This concept of population transfer became a cornerstone of Zionist plans, presented to international bodies and executed by military forces. The British Mandate, coupled with the Balfour Declaration, set the stage for a dramatic shift in Palestine's demographic makeup. Jewish immigration surged, and tensions between the Arab and Jewish populations began to rise. The stage was set for the conflicts that would follow in the coming decades. The British left an indelible mark on Palestine. Their mandate and the Balfour Declaration laid the groundwork for the Zionist colonization of the region. These actions, driven by colonial aspirations and political expediency, set the stage for the conflicts and tensions that continue to this day. The seeds of conflict sown by the British Mandate would soon bear bitter fruit. With the influx of Jewish settlers, Palestine became a boiling pot of rising tensions. The 1930s were marked by a series of uprisings, a clear manifestation of the escalating conflict between Arab Palestinians and Jewish settlers. Amidst this tumultuous period, one event that stands out is the Great Arab Revolt of 1936 to 1939. This revolt was more than just an isolated episode. It was a significant turning point in the history of Palestine. It was a large-scale rebellion by the Arab Palestinians against the British colonial rule and the increasing Jewish immigration. The revolt was sparked by widespread feelings of anger and betrayal. The Arabs felt cheated by the British, who, despite promising them independence, were facilitating the Zionist project of establishing a Jewish national home in Palestine. The revolt was marked by strikes, protests, and armed resistance. It was the first time the Arab Palestinians had organized on such a large scale, and the intensity of their resistance took the British by surprise. This was a clear message from the Arabs. They were prepared to fight for their land and their rights. The Great Arab Revolt had far-reaching consequences. It led to the deaths of thousands and caused significant economic damage. But more importantly, it changed the course of the Palestine issue. It was a wake-up call for the British, who realized that they could no longer control the situation. In response to the revolt and the subsequent violence, the British government issued the White Paper of 1939, which limited Jewish immigration and land purchases. However, this move did little to quell the tensions. The revolt, along with the increasing Zionist demands and the rise of Jewish terrorism, pushed the British to a breaking point. They decided to wash their hands off the Palestine issue. In 1946-47, they handed over the matter to the United Nations, hoping for a solution that would put an end to the escalating conflict. By the mid-20th century, Palestine was on the brink of a major shift. The stage was set for a new chapter in its history, a chapter that would forever change the land and its people. In 1947, the United Nations made a decision that would forever change the face of Palestine. This decision came in the form of UN Resolution 181, a proposal to divide Palestine into two separate states, one Jewish and one Arab. It was a plan steeped in controversy and fraught with tension. The resolution was put forth on November 29, 1947, and it proposed a partition that did not reflect the demographic realities of the time. Despite the Arab majority and the fact that the Jewish population owned only a small percentage of the land, the partition was seen as a fair solution by the international body. Both the Arabs and Jews rejected this proposal, albeit for different reasons. For the Jews, the partition did not fulfill their aspiration for more territory free of an Arab population. The Arabs, on the other hand, could not reconcile with the idea of sharing their homeland with Jewish settlers, whom they saw as interlopers. In the face of this rejection, a pivotal event occurred in May 1948. Ignoring the objections and ongoing discussions, Israel unilaterally declared its independence. This marked the birth of a new nation. But it also signaled a violent transformation of the territory. Following Israel's declaration, over 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from their homes in an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. This mass displacement, considered by many as an act of ethnic cleansing, led to a huge refugee crisis. Palestinians were forced to abandon their homes and livelihoods, marking a tragic chapter in their history. The creation of Israel was not just about the establishment of a Jewish state. It was also about the displacement of the Palestinian people, the fragmentation of their land, and the start of a conflict that has raged on for decades. It's a story of two peoples, two narratives, and a shared land that remains a battleground to this day. The birth of Israel marked a violent transformation of the land and the start of a conflict that persists to this day. Over 7 decades after Israel's creation, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains unresolved. The heart of the issue lies in the displacement of more than 750,000 Palestinians, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Forced to flee during the violent transformation of the territory, these individuals and their descendants now number in the millions and form one of the world's largest groups of refugees. The right of return, enshrined in international law, remains a core demand for Palestinians, yet it is a point of contention for Israel, which fears that the return of these refugees would alter the country's demographic balance. This unresolved issue is a stark reminder of the ongoing political and territorial tensions that continue to fuel the conflict. The Israeli occupation of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip, further intensifies these tensions. These territories, captured by Israel during the Six-Day War in 1967, are considered illegal under international law. The establishment of Israeli settlements in these areas, viewed as an attempt to alter the demographic makeup, has drawn widespread condemnation. The conflict has had far-reaching global implications. It has sparked international debates about human rights, state sovereignty, and the use of force. It has influenced political alliances, affected global peacekeeping efforts, and played a significant role in shaping Middle Eastern politics. The international community remains divided, with some countries staunchly supporting Israel, others championing the Palestinian cause, and many caught in a delicate balancing act. Efforts to resolve the conflict have been numerous, from international peace initiatives to grassroots campaigns. Yet a lasting solution remains elusive. Both sides continue to hold onto their narratives and aspirations, fueled by historical grievances and fears. The path to peace is fraught with obstacles, but hope remains that a just and fair resolution can be found. The Israel-Palestine conflict, rooted in historical events of the 19th and 20th centuries, continues to shape the world we live in today. It is a stark reminder of the enduring power of history, the complexity of identity, and the challenging quest for justice and peace.